Hi, this is Sunday the 27th of June 2021. Thank you once again for tuning in. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report. We're looking at the industrial relations and labour over this past week, and I really appreciate you listening in. If you like this, please send it on to family and friends, or you can email me. It's michael@bagraims.co.za, BAGRAIMS.co.za. Well, we've had an interesting week in the field of labour and industrial relations. I want to first handle the South African Airways deal. That's been on the news and it's been mooted by radio programs. It's been discussed by various people around the globe, in fact. It looks like that Minister Pravin Gordhan has now done some sort of deal, and I think it's spurious, with outsiders. He says they're outsiders, so we call them insiders. The Democratic Alliance is very suspicious of this. And these people are supposed to be taking 51% of the airways. You recall that we spent 10.5 billion rand just recently paying for some of the debt of SAA. This debt, unfortunately, has meant that other departments, including the Department of Employment and Labour, has suffered badly, and which has meant that the CCMA can't deliver its services. So you will recall that from previous posts that we've done. But what is interesting now, what is now coming out, is that the trade unions, members of the tripartite alliance with the ANC, have complained bitterly. And we're going to discuss that. I also want to discuss ports and harbours, and we need to have a look at various other issues that are ongoing. There's the problem with the municipalities and bankruptcy. I want to discuss that as well, so please listen and hear what we have to say. So this is Michael Bagraim. I'm the Labour spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance, and this is Sunday the 27th of June 2021. So to go straight on to SAA. Well, it is interesting. SAA appears to have done the deal through Minister Pravin Gordhan. What has happened is that the trade unions say they weren't consulted. Now, you would have to consult with the trade unions, absolutely, in terms of our Labour Relations Act, and I presume that Minister Gordhan knows about the trade unions and knows about the problems that he's had in the past. He's dealt with them over the past many years. SAA has not been without its problems. SAA has been almost bankrupt for years. And SAA keeps getting bailed out by our government, and our government keeps speaking to the trade unions. So why on this vital occasion have they decided, no, they're not going to talk to the trade unions? Is it something you're trying to hide? Is it duplicitous? What is the problem? The trade unions are saying no one consulted with them. Well, they have to in terms of the law. So it's going to be interesting now that the trade unions are saber-rattling, now that they're looking for the trouble. Let's see what happens. Because in terms of Section 189 of the Labour Relations Act, they have to talk to the trade unions if there's a contemplation, and I use the word contemplation, of possible retrenchment. As soon as you contemplate, as a business owner or a business manager, as soon as you contemplate the possibility of retrenchment, you need to consult with either the employees or their representatives. In this case, the representatives are well known to the government. They're there. They've been talking to government for years. So one wonders what has gone wrong over here. If, however, they're not contemplating the retrenchment, and they might not, although they're overstaffed and they can't afford the salary, they might not want to retrench. But we know that 51% is going to go to a new owner. If 51% is going to go to a new owner, then it becomes almost a new entity. If it's a new entity, then in terms of Section 197 of the Labour Relations Act, there'll be effectively a new employer. If there's going to be a new employer, then you need to consult with the trade unions in terms of that Section 197. You can't get away with it. You can't pretend it isn't there, and you can't pretend you didn't know. This is government. Can you imagine if this happened in the private sector? Can you imagine if a business in the private sector said to the unions, well, we're selling 51% to another entity altogether, but don't worry, we don't need to speak to you. They'd been caught in minutes. So this doesn't make any sense, and it's duplicitous behavior. I don't understand it. Well, okay, we see this all the time from government. They make laws, they ignore the laws, and then go ahead as if there's nothing wrong. But at least the trade unions are speaking up. It is quite weird that they are partners in the tripartite alliance, but at least they're speaking up. So let's watch this space and see what happens. Well, you know that in terms of ports and harbours in South Africa, now ports and harbours have been failing us for many years. Even the port of Cape Town is in a complete mess. They've decided to have a look at this in terms of where do we go from here. Now, President Ramaphosa didn't decide out of the mid-air to look at the ports and harbours. He had a look to see at the rankings, the world rankings. Well, we're one of the worst in the world. Okay, we're not comparable to some of the good ports and harbours around the world. I can understand that. Singapore being the best. It was another colonial disaster over there, but they're the best in the world. Why is it that our ports and harbours are the worst? I don't understand it. I suppose we could say, jokingly, that we're better than Switzerland because they don't have any ports and harbours, they're landlocked. But that's not much of a comparison for us. So, in looking at this, President Ramaphosa did say one or two good things. And they are looking for external parties to come and help us run our ports and harbours, which is a good thing. But again, the trade unions are shouting. It's like the SAA problem. They're screaming. They're saying no one consulted us. We're not supporting this because no one consulted us. Well, you can understand where they're coming from. There is still a Labour Relations Act. There's still a government. They're still in a tripartite alliance with the trade unions, in particular COSATU, and the president has ignored the trade unions. Maybe he's taken a leaf out of Pravin Gordhan's hat. What is going on? Why are they so duplicitous? Why are they worrying about talking to the trade unions who might want to know something about the deal? The Democratic Alliance is trying to find out what's going on here. We can't see any of the paperwork. We're getting nowhere. Could be a good deal as well, but who knows why they don't want to talk to the trade union movement. So from a labour law point of view, the government again has screwed up. That's the only term I can use. They've screwed up. And we wait to see. So there was SAA, ports and harbours. There have been so many times when they don't talk at all to their partners in their business. Let's have a look at a third thing. Danelle. Danelle used to be a world-class institution. Absolutely fantastic institution. They made money. They were at the forefront of innovation and technology. Well, for months now, for years, they've been bankrupt. They have just announced, and here we are on the 27th of June 21, they've just announced that they can't pay their staff their June salary, their full June salary. They can pay them maybe 30%. How does anyone survive like that? Can you imagine if that hadn't happened in the private sector? Can you imagine what would happen? Again, I'm not so sure they've been consulting with their trade unions. I don't know what they've been telling the individuals who are relying on their salary to pay their bonds, their cars, their school fees or whatever. No, they're going to get 30%. But what's even worse is that they've been told that the full amount of the SARS deduction is going to take, even though they're getting 30%, SARS is pretending they're getting 100%, they have to pay the full amount over to SARS. So government wants to take even what they haven't given. Doesn't make sense at all, and I'm hoping that at least the trade unions speak up in this instance. Now, I do want to finally just have a look at municipalities. We've been reading that municipalities are failing around the country. Most municipalities, I think the majority, can't provide any surety at all. No money. They can't provide water, electricity, possible roads, trains. Businesses are shouting and saying, we've been through a nightmare. We've been through COVID, we've been through lockdown, we've been through a bad economy, and now you're telling us we can't have electricity, we can't have water, we can't have passable roads, we can't get stock, we can't get our staff to work. And so what are businesses doing? They're closing up, they're relocating abroad, relocating to other provinces. It's just not acceptable. Government is destroying the workplace. And it's almost as if they're willingly doing it, openly doing it. No one's saying anything. Why is it in the Western Province we can run a decent province? Why are we trying desperately to ensure that water is delivered, electricity is delivered? Although we're still at the beck and call of Eskom, we're at least trying our utmost to ensure that business runs. So let's watch this space. Let's make sure that we can start getting back on track. We must try and do things ourselves, and as the Democratic Alliance, we are acting as the oversight body to ensure that government does actually play ball. Thank you for listening to me. Once again, it's Michael Bagraff.